just hit the go live button. We are waiting for folks to join the webinar that we set the registration page up on coachsimmons.com. I thought I'd go ahead and test something a little bit different here today and do a portion of it live, the live portion of the webinar. It'll only be available live. If you hit me up via DM, I might make a recording available. What we're really trying to figure out on our end, and this is a working out loud thing, is how do we do webinars well as a way to provide value back to the folks that have been following us for a while, and then ultimately move to conversion. And those conversions happen in a couple of different places. Conversions happen because people actually do the work. You do the work on your side, and when you do the work works. So the conversion, if you go and do the work and the work works, then what we'd like you to do is either share that work with other people or get yourself into a position where you start to where you run into an obstacle and you work with us directly to help you on the coaching side. So from a game plan perspective, when it comes to building out your career and actually making this stuff work from a career standpoint, the first piece that we want to understand is how do we make sure that we do the things that we're meant to do? How do we do what we're made for? And I did a video a little bit earlier today on the difference between theory, because everything is theoretical until you actually do it, until you apply it. And then if you apply it over time, it becomes practical from your perspective. So when we think about doing what you're made for, let's take theory and actually start to put ourselves into a position where we can apply it. First thing I want to understand is, what are some of the things that help me, that build energy, that build me up? And what are some of the things that suck the life out of me? So build me up on one side, suck the life out of me on the other side. I joke with people, I'm not employable anymore. One of the reasons I'm not employable is because I don't like meetings. Meetings for the sake of meetings drive me absolutely nuts. They just suck the energy, suck the life out of me. And that's what ends up happening inside a lot of organizations that you get caught up in when you're doing the W-2 side of things. By me being able to move in and out of organizations, I can help avoid or make sure that I'm not a part of meetings that suck the life out of me. So knowing what sucks the life out of you and knowing what builds you up, and you might be someone who gets built up by attending meetings, is the first step. The second step is understanding of those things that either suck the life out of you or build you up, which of those are high impact. Impact for me is change. What creates change for others? What has a positive impact on others? Helps people move forward, helps people make progress. That's what leadership is. Leadership is how we move forward. What is the thing that you're doing that has high impact, either on self or on others? Now, on the other side of things, we typically can start to optimize from a money perspective and get fair exchange in value for the things that we're doing on this side, the things that build us up and the things that have high impact. Now, there's also things that are low impact on others that still could build you up. For me, it's golf. It has low impact on others, but it has an impact on me. It's not something that I make money at. So high impact, low impact. We want to plot on this 2x2 on the y-axis of those things that we're doing, which is low impact, which is high impact. And of all of the things that we're working on in the x-axis, what sucks the life out of me, what builds me up. My goal is to continue to move this y-axis further to the right. If I move that y-axis further down the right as I'm looking at it, what I start to do is really narrow focus on things that build me up, create energy, and have an impact on others. There's still some of these things over here, though, that are high impact that suck the life out of me. On those, what we've got to figure out is, who are the people that we can partner up with? Who are the others that can do these things? Who are the others that could do these things that maybe it makes sense for us to partner with? People that we add to our teams. So as you lead others inside an organization, start to figure out, of the people that you're leading, and the work that they're doing, who are the ones who gain energy out of certain work and have the life sucked out of them and other things. The reason this is the foundational piece to start with is it is very easy for you to go through and find work, work for the sake of work. It is very hard to go through the process of finding meaningful work for self that ultimately pays the bills. And that's what's helped me build out my career over 30 some odd years of both moving through operations and implementation success, sales, sales leadership, executive leadership, and operating a business. Let's understand what builds us up, what sucks the life out of us, what has high impact, either on self or on others, and what on the other side, what is lower impact. Once we go through this, we understand where we want to focus, how we want to make some decisions around putting time, energy, and attention on the things that are important to us. Then we can start to work toward understanding what our specific goals are. What are our goals and objectives? So is my goal and objective to change careers? Is my goal or objective to change companies that I'm working with? Is my goal or objective to change roles? Is my goal or objective to build a business? Only you can figure out that goal. Once you understand that goal, this is focused on career. Once you understand that goal, then you can start to build out your game plan, goal setting and execution through clarity and focus, strategy and tactics to help you achieve the goal. You break things down into small buckets. When I think of actions, I think of strategy. I think of the buckets, the way that I'm going to organize the work that I'm working on so that I can put time, energy, and attention in the right things to help achieve the objective that I'm working toward. So my actions, some people will talk about this as strategy. I look at this as bucketing the work. And I like to use 3 buckets here, a 3-pronged strategy. And the reason why I like to use a 3-pronged strategy when it comes to this stuff, specifically around achieving results, is because it is very easy to fall into the trap of doing too much. It's very easy to fall into the trap of adding more to your plate. It is hard to eliminate the unnecessary because people will come to you and they will ask for help on certain things, or you will justify doing certain work because you think you're helping others, or you will start doing other work because the main thing that you've got to get done, the thing that aligns with your strategy, is hard. It's tough. You might be struggling with it. It might be your first time doing it. So let's understand what our strategy is, actions. Then from there, we'll layer in tactics, the specific work. And when I think about layering tactics, the word I like to use are metrics, because I want to use these metrics or checkboxes, checklist, to hold myself accountable to doing the work. And then ultimately, over time, hold the work accountable to working. Because many times we forget that we can actually fire the work. Not all of the work is the right work for you. The things that work for me are not necessarily the things that are going to work for you, specifically when it comes to the tactics that you're applying to achieve your ultimate goal and objective. And by breaking things down into this simple 3x3 framework, we get ourselves into a position where we can create a level of clarity so that we can focus time, energy, and attention on doing the right things, ideally in the right order, to achieve the results. So let's apply it in the context of building out our game plan, specifically from a career development perspective. So if our goal is to move into a new role, we want to move into a new role. Let's say that we want to move from a sales role into a success role. Or maybe we want to move from a sales role into a product role. We want to move into a new functional role inside the organization. New role. And I said functional role inside the organization. That new role could actually be outside of an organization. Sometimes it's, unfortunately, sometimes it is easier to move into new functional roles outside of an organization than inside your organization because of some of the barriers that get created in the companies that we're a part of. But let's say our goal is to move into a new role. Well, what do we need to do in order to be able to get there? We need to have access to the roles. We need to know that the roles exist. We need to know the people that are involved in hiring for those roles or the people who are ultimately influencing those roles. So one area that I would recommend you focus on is building your network. I know this is the goal is about building to your career and building forward. I'm going to suggest you start building your network now in the area and the space where the people are working that you potentially want to be, whether that's inside companies or that's inside industries or that's inside roles. Figure out who are some of the people that I need to follow who are really good. And let's use product as an example, really good at building products. Where do they live? Where do they drink? Where do they sleep? Where do they breathe? Where do they operate? Let's understand where they are. Let's build our network. So one strategy for achieving this objective, after we've gone through the process of making our decisions around where we want to focus time and attention, we've decided we want to move to a new role from a product perspective, let's build our network. The second piece that we want to do is build out skills. So we need to have functional skills, the functional necessary skills in order to be able to do the role. So we build out our network, the people, we build out our skills, the capability, knowledge, skill equals capability. And then the third area that I'm going to recommend from a strategy perspective, broad buckets, where we're going to organize our work, is going to be gaining experience. There's a couple of different ways to gain experience. You can gain experience doing the work inside an organization. W-2 work is a great way to gain experience. Don't gain experience working in someone else's organization as a consultant, as an example. We network, we build skills, we gain experience. Three-pronged approach to building toward the career that either we want to build toward, or if we're leading teams, helping them build toward. Here are some of the challenges. Once we go through this, it looks good on paper. Again, remember, theoretically, this looks good. We build a network, we build skills, we build experience. How do we actually go through the process and do it? This is where the work happens. So from a network perspective, there's going to be things like going to events to build out a network, joining community to build out a network, operating with people inside social media to build a network, requesting time with others to build a network. Here's the thing, that can happen both inside your organization and outside of your organization. If you're inside your organization and you've not taken the time to have conversations with people on the product side, go do that. Identify the people, the specific people inside the organization that you're working in right now to help that are currently doing that work. And think about the different levels that are there. There are a couple of different levels. There are going to be people who are in senior roles. There are going to be people who are have been there for a long time. There are going to be people who are new joiners into the organization. Each of them have different experiences that you can learn from. So we'll build out our network, both internal and external. We can join community, and we can engage with people socially. Now, how does this convert into specific checklists or metrics that we're going to measure work that we get to do? Well, from a sales perspective, one of the things that will help you from a demand generation, outbound or outreach, getting engaged with customers, business development perspective, is conducting outreach to specific people. So let's identify three people in three functional areas that we want to engage with. Three people, three functional areas, maybe across three different organizations. So now that gives us three organizations, three people. That's 9 people inside three different functional areas. Actually gets multiplied again. So you start to factor this out, identify the people you want to reach out to, and then actually do the work and reach out to them. So from a sales rep approach perspective, this is the whole: identify, engage, establish objectives, clarify next steps, call to action, and then re-engage. So we should, when we look at our game plan, have a checklist that says, hey, on a daily basis, I'm going to reach out to X number of people, or on a weekly basis, I'm going to reach out to X number of people. Direct one-to-one outreach as we build out that network. From a broader one-to-many perspective, it might be that we're posting on things, with posting or collaborating with others with their post on social media platforms like LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever your platform of choice is. So there might be a social media one-to-many engagement piece here, which includes posting what you're learning and engaging in the comments of others who are active inside that space. The point of all of this is I have a goal, I've got a strategy, way that I'm organizing buckets, way that I'm going to organize the work. I've got specific work that I'm going to do, and I've got checklists that hold me accountable to doing that work over a period of time. Now, what about the skill side of things? So some of this is going to take doing a little bit of research. You might need to do some research to figure out what are the necessary skills in order to be effective in that functional area. Well, for the people that I've worked with on the product side, one of the things that they typically are very good at is solving problems. Another thing that they're very good at is design. If those are things that you don't have experience in, then let's figure out where can we build out those problem-solving skills or those design skills. Go out there and do the research. Use tools like Gemini, ChatGPT, any of the AI, any of the LLMs that are out there. Start to figure out what are the core skills that are necessary for someone to be functional inside that role. Maybe the other thing we start to look at is can I connect the dots between those current skills and future skills. Maybe they call those skills something a little bit different. Maybe instead of calling it discovery from a sales perspective, they actually call it research. It's one of the reasons why I look at one of the core foundational sales skills is conducting research, not discovery. It's conducting research, because there's so many different ways that we can conduct research, both publicly and privately, but that language can confuse people. So your discovery skills may actually translate really well to the research skills. The key piece is doing the research. Let's have that as a next step. Figure out what are the necessary skills in order to be effective in this new role. What skills are necessary? Get that list of skills and then start to build out your plan on how can I build those skills. I can build those skills either through training, coaching. Some people might say mentoring, but I'm going to keep things focused on training and coaching here. Coaching helps me get from A to B much faster. Training may not be as personalized. It depends on the level that you need in a given for a given role that you're working toward. So we can figure out our research, then we can start to build out our training plan, potential coaching plan, and then start to figure out, hey, what are the specific books I'm reading? What are the courses I'm taking? Who are the actual people that I could work with who might be able to help me in this specific area? Over time, what you'll see is these dots start to connect with each other. And if we started all the way back here with all of the different tasks that you could do, it would get very confusing and feel very complicated and feel really hard to manage. The reason why we start over here and work backward on these things is so that everything that we add, every task that we add, aligns with the strategy that we've agreed to help us get toward that specific goal. So again, the process is goal, identify the goal, determine the three-pronged strategy to achieve the goal, and then build your work structure based on that three-pronged strategy, and then use checklist metrics to help hold yourself accountable to actually doing the work. Because it's one thing to say you're going to do the work. It's a completely different thing to actually go out there and do the work. We get busy. I get busy. There are certain things that fall off of my list of to-dos because I keep adding more things to my to-do list. If you're serious about getting that new role, you're going to hold yourself accountable to getting that work done. And then when other people come in and try to add new things to your checklist or your to-do list, you're going to be in a position where you can start to defend your work and defend your time. So we have our check boxes related to, let's say, books that we're going to read, courses we're going to take, people we're going to reach out to from a coaching perspective, then ultimately build some time on when we're going to do that. And then the next piece is going to be the experience. Through these things, we should get access to opportunities where we can build experience. On the experience side, we might be able to volunteer. One of the best ways to build leadership skills is volunteer in a nonprofit. They're constantly looking for people who have skills, who could help bring volunteers together to help achieve an objective. If you're not getting that opportunity inside your organization, you want to build up that capability. See if there's a nonprofit that you're interested in locally where they might be using youth to achieve something, deliver food, help the homeless, whatever the thing is. There are a number of different places out there where you can find opportunities to volunteer time, energy, and resource. And in addition to the hands doing the work, they're also looking for people to help lead the hands who are doing the work and help coordinate and organize. So let's figure out where we can get experience. One of those areas might be volunteering for certain things. That volunteer could be with nonprofits inside your community. It could actually be inside an organization. When you hear projects that are happening inside your business that people are working on, ask the people that you've networked with, hey, can I shadow you? Can I do this? Can I be a part of that? Can I go do that work in that specific area? So let's figure out different ways where we can get experience. That could be volunteering both with outside of the organization and inside the organization. Building that into specific tasks, it might be identifying specific organizations that you want to volunteer with. It might be specific functional areas that you want to volunteer with. It might be identifying specific people that you want to do that with, and then set up maybe an objective, a goal relative to number of volunteer hours or number of volunteer projects that you want to participate in, whether it's, again, in that nonprofit or it's inside your specific organization. One of the challenges that we're seeing across organizations, like I'm seeing it across organizations, is there's more work to be done than people who can get that work done. We're distracted. We've got a lot of things that are on our plate. There's always something more that's out there. Well, you coming in and offering inside your network based on skills that you've developed creates an opportunity for you to gain experience inside that area. And so as we work through this, we now have a checklist on this side of the work. We have strategy where that checklist is aligned. And then if, based on applying some logic here, if the strategy is the right strategy and the work aligns with the strategy, over time, we should start getting closer to achieving our goal or objective. The things that get in the way of us doing this, either A, we don't do the work. So we have the list, we have the checklist, and we come in at lower than 80% of our targets relative to the checklist. We don't do the work. Or we do the work and we continue to do the work because we said we were going to do the work, but we don't actually reflect on it and say, is the work actually working? I'm going to shift gears a bit here to going through the goal, the strategy, the tactics, shift gears here and start talking about how we actually do this from a sprint perspective. What do we do when we actually take all of this work here? Because, I mean, this is a lot of stuff to get done. It takes a while to build skills. It takes a while to gain experience. It takes a while to build a network. And it is really easy to get lost and frustrated in not seeing the work. You get so focused on, hey, I'm not actually getting to my end result. And by keeping track of some of these checkboxes, we're going to be able to reward or celebrate the activities that we've done. So, one of the big pieces here that's going to be a linchpin in helping us get that career piece, the thing that's going to help move things a little bit faster. And this gets into the whole it's not what you know, it's who you know type stuff, is building out that network. So, let's think about this in the context of sprints. So, sprint for me is a 2 week period of time. We're compartmentalizing work into an individual sprint. That sprint is going to be 2 weeks, and there's going to be focused activities, not outcomes. We're not focused on outcomes inside the sprint. We're focused on activity, doing the work. There's going to be a specific set of activities that we agree that we want to get done inside that 2 week period. At the end of the 2 week period, we'll look back and we'll say, did we do the work? If we did the work, good. Move on to the next sprint and get that work done. And then after the third sprint of doing this type of work, then I'm going to suggest that you go back in, reflect, and say, did the work actually work? Did I get closer to my objective? Did I build that network? Did I start to build some of those skills? So in the sprint, we're going to have 2 week focus. There's going to be a specific set of activities, and those activities are aligned with objectives that we have. And that objective is get ourselves into a position where we get build toward that product opportunity if we're transitioning into that role. So what does a sprint look like? Well, sprint is going to have 14 days. It's 2 weeks. Now, depending on how you want to look at it, you could say that's going to be 10 working days if you work Monday through Friday. Given that this is about new career type stuff, I'd suggest that you put a little bit of something to it every day over that period of time. So we've got 7 days over a 2 week period. What I want to know is, what are my check boxes that I'm focused on that are daily? Which ones are weekly? And which ones are kind of combination of both? The first time that you do this, you will take on too much work. You will believe that you can accomplish significantly more than is the actual reality. This is why I like to look at this and say, say that my goal, my objective from an activity perspective is to be able to knock out at least 80% of the activities that I lay out for the week or for that period of time, for that sprint. If I'm not hitting on 80%, something's getting in the way. I'm either trying to do too much, I'm not prioritizing the thing, or priorities have shifted. So we build out our sprint in 2 week versions. We figure out what our daily activities are, make sure that all of those daily activities align directly with the strategy, and then ultimately with the general goal that we're looking to accomplish. And let this go for 3 sprints in a row before you start to adjust the work. What you should see after those first 3 sprints, specifically if we're doing some outreach related to building a network, is if you're doing daily outreach to 3 people every day, over the course of a week period, you would get to 15 people. And from a connection rate perspective, I would expect that you're going to be anywhere between 20 and 40% on that side. So of the 15, I'm going to expect that you're going to be somewhere between 3 and maybe as many as 6 people that are in that have connected back with you. In addition to let's add in some of the research activity, because that's not going to be driven by people responding to you. You ideally can identify the specific skills that are necessary for you to be effective in that role, and then start to look at some of the definitions associated with those skills to determine how do those connect with skills that you've already built. By going through and breaking things down into 3 2-week sprints and staying focused in those first, doing the work, detaching from the outcomes over those sprints, you will get to a point where you're going to be able to say, number one, evaluate, did I do the work? Did I hit my 80%? If yes, good. If no, then I can't expect that my tactics are ultimately going to lead to success if I'm not actually doing it. I can't expect the work to work if I went out there and didn't actually do the work. We've covered a lot. Just from a recap perspective, we identified, hey, let's identify what our specific goal is. That goal should be aligned with the things that we're interested in building toward. That objective that we're working toward, doing the things that we're made for, figuring out areas where we want to test. Then once we've identified the goal, then we've built out some strategy. The three-pronged strategy I would recommend from a career perspective is build out your network, build out your skills, find space to gain experience. From there, let's figure out the work that we're going to do on a daily and weekly basis in a sprint format. Start going out and doing the work, and then determine, is the work working? Am I building the network? If not, then I've got to change my tactics on building the network. Have I identified skills and I've started building those skills? If not, I may need to change the tactics on building those skills. Have I found opportunity to gain experience? Yes or no? If not, then maybe I need to adjust who I'm connecting with from a network perspective. The other part of this is after the 3 sprints is you start to realize, is the reason why I didn't do the work because I'm just not that interested in this thing anymore. And if you're not that interested in the thing, why force it? Why do it just because you said that's what you're going to do? Do it because it's the thing that you're meant to do. That is your game plan for building out career success. I'm going to turn off the stream version of this at this point in time. If you want to participate in these in the future, register for them at coachsimmons.com. We'll have the links that are available to you. Or if you need a link, send a direct message to me. I'm going to go to the people who had registered the webinar and answer some specific questions